How's everybody doing today? Hope everybody's having a wonderful, wonderful Monday. August the 9th. Give it a couple of minutes, see if we'll have anybody join the party. If not, we'll get started. Seems like put some of that hot breath on there, boy. Getting the glass clean. How you doing in person? I can't tell who it is just yet, but it looks like somebody's in here. Hope you having a good Monday. Just give them a couple of minutes, see if we get some others to join. Then we'll go ahead and get started. My charger. Oh, Sister Rodney, how you doing? I couldn't see your little snowman thingy up there. Hope you're having a good Monday. Been pretty busy for me, but it's been good. Can't complain at all. Which is going to be a busy next few days for me. Because I'm be off all next week, and I got to take a couple of days off this week, too, that wasn't expected. So, these next 3 days are going to be crazy. But I'm still here with you guys tonight, and that's what matters the most. We get my charger plugged up, and then I think we're going to get started. A few more seconds. I don't know why I did that, and I got to readjust it. Now I got to refix it. There we go. Alrighty, so I think I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hope y'all having, like I said earlier, hope y'all having a wonderful Monday. This is Brother John Stewart on behalf of River Lake Baptist Church. I'm having Lost Sheep Ministries and come to present you with a lesson today that I hope hopefully help you see things from a different perspective and help build your relationship with God. That's always the point of me doing these lessons and these Bible studies that I do. I just try to get people to see. I go to Texas next week. Next week I should be leaving out. Supposed to be leaving out Tuesday on my birthday actually. So it's pretty cool, almost like a birthday gift for me. So yeah, it'll be next week. I'm supposed to be heading out. But like I said, we're just going a little lesson. This is a small lesson, and of course I always say it's a small lesson, and we still be here for almost 2 hours. But I'm finishing up. If y'all remember, I did the lesson last week, and this lesson kind of goes into this lesson. The lesson from last week kind of goes into this lesson, so I'm actually gonna go ahead and do it. Just a recap, just go over the points because we had over 11 points last week, of course tonight's lesson. If you saw the post on Facebook, tonight's lesson, the title of tonight's lesson is "Our Faithlessness," and I got it. I put it out there. I don't even know if that's a word, to be honest, but our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. In other words, no matter how how much of a lack of faith that you have in God, no matter how unfaithful you are to Him, He's still faithful to you. It's almost like an abusive relationship, almost, but you know what I'm saying. But it's in a good way, because God is always going to be there for us, even when we're not there for Him and necessarily doing the things that we're supposed to be doing to honor and glorify Him. So I'm going to do a real quick review. Because of the first two chapters that we went through, it's all the same chapters in Deuteronomy chapter 31, if you want to get your Bibles opened up to it. But the first two paragraphs, really, it was 11 things that I pulled out that you can do to remain faithful. And of course, number one was you got to develop a servant's attitude. If you're going to serve God, you got to have the right attitude, because everything's not going to always go your way. You're not going to always get the things that you want to get. You're not going to always get where you feel you need to be, but can't let that stop you from serving. So the first thing you got to do is to remain faithful is make sure you have the right attitude when it comes to serving God. A lot of us have the attitude, what can we get from God by serving God, when really we should be, what can God get out of us by us dedicating ourselves to serving Him. So number one from last week was you have to develop a servant's attitude. Number two, You have to let the Lord fight your battles. A lot of stuff that we go through that end up making us get out of the church and end up pulling us away from God are things that, problems that comes up that we try to handle on our own, that we never really just put in God's hand. And in reality, if we just give it over to God, then He'll fight our battles for us, and we don't have to take on so much of a burden, and it'll make it a lot easier for us to remain faithful. Number 3, you got to be sure you're following godly men. You got to make sure you're following you have the right people in your lives. That is so important as a Christian, to make sure that you're spending your time and all your time, energy, and effort around the right people, following the right people, listening to the right people. Because you get around the wrong people, bad influence. Bad influence. I can't. It's a Bible verse I just went over the other day. Bad bad company corrupts good character. I believe that's it. And I might be misquoting that, and I apologize. But it's over there in Corinthians if you want to go look it up. But you gotta make sure you're following the right people. Make sure you got the right people in your life. And you're letting the right people influence you in the things you do. Number 4 was you have to be obedient. If you're gonna stay faithful, you have to be obedient. It's gonna be hard for you to be faithful if you're not obedient to the Word of God. So you got to make sure that you're obedient. Of course, I've talked about obedience and the blessings that come from obedience several times, but you have to make sure you're going to be obedient if you're going to do anything that's true to serve the Lord, especially if you're going to remain faithful to serving the Lord. You have to be obedient. Number 5, you got to make sure you fear only God. If you have fear of the things of this world, if you have the fear of this world or the weapons that this world will bring against you, then it'll be easy to get you out of being faithful to God. All I got to do is throw something at you, and then your faith is right out the window. Your relationship with God is right out the window. So you got to make sure the only thing you fear is God. Number 6 was you got to understand there's no limit to the faithfulness of God. His mercy endure forever. And that's kind of what we're going to see tonight as we go through the lesson tonight, that there's no limit to His faithfulness to us. He's faithful to us even when we're not faithful to Him. And I don't want to get ahead of myself because that's going to be one of my points tonight. But number 6 was understand that there's no limit to the faithfulness of God. His mercy endure forever. Number 7, you have to trust in the Lord's promises. Be confident in God's word. That's the only way you're going to, because like I said, the road's going to get rough. Sometimes it's going to look like you've been abandoned. Sometimes it's going to look like feel like the world is coming against you. But you have to stay faithful and understand that God promised you that He's going to take care of you. He promised you He's going to get you where you need to be. And you got to put your faith and trust in that promise if you're going to remain faithful. Number 8, you got to be sure that you are giving the Lord, giving the word that God has given you to others. And we talked about how that's very important. When God gives you something to give it to share with others. That's all I'm doing with this ministry here. So I'm glad I got into this ministry. A lot of people that normally wouldn't be able to hear me preach is able to hear me preach. So it's such a blessing to be in it. But normally, on Monday nights I would be preaching in the jails. But of course, since coronavirus, it's been over a year, almost a year and a half now, since I've been able to go in there. But I wanted this word to continue to go on, and I started. Some people suggest I come on here, and I have, and it's been a blessing because I've been able to reach other people that I normally wouldn't have reached. So that's a blessing. And all like I said, I'm on here. All I'm doing is giving the word the Lord has given me. I'm giving it to y'all. Number 9, you have to have a dedicated time and place that you read your Bible and meet with the Lord. And I talked about that. That's the only way you're going to remain faithful if you have dedicated time. So many people say, they try to do it if they get the time to do it, or if everything work out, I do it. And if that's your attitude toward it, you'll never get to it because there's going to always be some else pop up. It's going to always be some kind of distraction that's going to pull you away from that word because the devil don't want you to get in that word. So you have to have a dedicated time and place to read your Bible and meet with God. Number 10 from last week, you got to teach those in your world how to fear the Lord as you do. And I talked about, first of all, you got to fear the Lord first before you can teach somebody else how to fear the Lord. But you should make sure that you're doing everything you can to teach those in your world how to fear the Lord just as you do. And then, of course, number 11, the last point from last week, and this is on how to remain faithful. You have to decide in your heart that you are going to be faithful no matter what. Again, faithfulness, and I made the statement, faithfulness is intentional. It's not something that just happens. It's something that you have to work at doing, and it's something you have to work at every day. Every day you wake up, you have to make a decision that you're going to be faithful no matter what's going on in your world, no matter how good things are, how bad things are. You got to make sure that you remain faithful. It's an intentional act. So that was a little review from, like I said, the first half of the chapter, the first 2 paragraphs, the first half of the chapter we went through. And we just talked about, like I said, I gave you those 11 things that you can do to remain faithful. So tonight we're going to look at the second half of the chapter, and we're going to see that even when you fail, even when you're not as faithful as you should be, even when you stray away from the path, so to speak, God will still be faithful to you. You know, your like I said, the title of the lesson is Our Faithfulness, Faithlessness does not diminish His faithfulness. You know what I'm saying? All right, that's a bit, bro. I'm always down for praying for somebody, man. I would definitely do that, man. Looking forward to getting back on the field with you in a couple of weeks too, man. So you pray for me too that I don't get hurt. I'm too old for that stuff, but I got to get out there and knock heads with you young fellas. But I definitely do that, brother. I'm glad you're here. So again, you know, even when we stray away from that path, we're going to see through as we go through this chapter tonight that even when we stray away from that path, even though we had a tendency to always do the things that we're not supposed to be doing and go in the place we're not supposed to be going, God will still remain faithful to us. So our faithlessness does not diminish His faithfulness. So I'm going to go ahead and pray, and then I'll jump into this lesson. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, thank you so much for watching over us. Thank you so much for your faithfulness to us, Lord, which is what we're talking about tonight. We're discussing tonight. I pray you send your spirit down upon me as I go through these words, and let your spirit use me tonight to bring forth a lesson that I think people need to understand, that will help them understand. And I think when they truly understand how faithful you are to us, it'll help them be more faithful to you as well. And I know, and I say that to them because I was in that situation before I gave my life to you 17 and a half years ago, you know, so I can understand where they're at. And I just want them to understand that how faithful, and since I've started serving you, since I've made a decision and that dedicated myself to serving you, Lord, how faithful you've been to me, and how faithful you were to me, seeing how faithful you were to me before I even came to you, Lord, is what makes me want to give my whole heart to serving your purpose, your will, and being faithful to you, and also helping others have that same faith in their life, that same faithfulness to you in their life. So I just pray you just watch over us as we go through this lesson tonight. I thank you for your word. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share your word. And I pray that you give me the ability to use your word tonight to edify some other brother or sister out there that might be watching this video, to help them have a closer relationship with you, and get them to want to have a faithful be faithful in their relationship with you, be faithful in their dealings with you, and the work that you have for them to do, so they can continue to build your kingdom and continue to honor and glorify your name through the work they do. So send your spirit down upon me and use me to bring this lesson tonight, and also send your spirit down upon the hearts of those that will listen to this lesson. So if they have some things they can do that be a little bit more faithful, Lord, they will become under conviction about it and make that decision and put their faith and trust in you, and to walk that faithful path that leads to that honors and glorifies you and continue to build your kingdom. We thank you so much for all you've done. Thank you for this opportunity to get in your word once again. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name. Amen. So again, you know, some I come across a lot in this ministry, especially with the kind of people I deal with, and the kind of the people, because, you know, I look for the broken people. That's my ministry. I'm going to those that still going through the fire, those that got, you know, trials and tribulation, they're still stuck in their trials and tribulation. Even if they're self-induced, they're still in that state. And I go to them, and a lot of times a lot of people have this attitude, you know, and a line I hear all the time is, well, I used to go to church, you know, all the time, or, you know, I can't tell you how many times I was in jail, and, you know, the kids that was in there, they was deacon kids, or my granddad was a preacher, he made us go to church all the time, or, you know what I'm saying, my dad was a preacher, or this and that and that, you know what I'm saying, and I hear that a lot, and I hear a whole lot, well, I used to do this and I used to do that, and then, you know, when you ask them, like, well, what got you away from it, some came up. You know what I'm saying? Some came up, maybe they had a loss that they just couldn't accept. Maybe they lost a job, or you know what I'm saying, somebody that was close to them, a girlfriend. I mean, sometimes it's a little frivolous stuff like, oh, well, my girlfriend left me, and we used to go to church all the time, so when she left, I just stopped going to church. I mean, we find all kind of excuses to get away from doing what God wants us to do. But when we really look at it, God does everything He can to be in our lives and to be influencing our lives and to be good, you know, good influence on us and guide us down a path that'll lead us closer to Him. He does everything He can, and, you know what I'm saying. But of course, after so long, He'll take His hand off if He see that you're rejecting Him. Because that's the thing we gotta understand: God's love and His mercy endures forever. And the only thing that separates you from God's love is you yourself. You know, so as long as he see you still got that potential there, he'll keep his hand upon you and try to do his best to get you back on that path. But once you continue to go down that path and reject, eventually he'll take his hand off of you. And it's not even in that situation. It's not him being faithful, not being faithful. It's just that he letting you walk your path and do what you want to do. But the sad part about that is when you do that, then you're the one that's going to have to suffer the consequences of your actions. But we're going to see that here tonight. There's a lot of this going to come up tonight as we go through. So in the first two paragraphs, of course, this is Moses. He's getting ready to go to die. This is he got about 4 chapters left before he's out of here, so to speak, because he's not going to be able to go to the promised land because of what he did at the waters of the rock. So he's kind of getting them prepped and letting them know what to expect once he's gone. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to get them. It's just like if you was a dad and you got some kids and you know your time is coming, coming up, and your time is short and coming up, you're going to do everything you can to try to tell them whatever thing you think they need to hear so they can continue in the faith. Well, for Moses, continue the faith, but so they can continue to have a good life and do the things they're supposed to do. So that's what's going on here with Moses, and this is his last little speech, so to speak. So, and we saw that in the first couple of chapters, he was more positive, but in the second half of the chapter, it gets a little bit more negative, and and we see an aspect of God that I think, like, we truly understand this aspect of God, it'll strengthen our relationship with the Lord as well. So, like I said earlier, we're going to be in Deuteronomy chapter 31. We're going to do in the second half of the chapter, we're going to be doing verses 14 through 28, which is the second half of the chapter. And so, we start off, of course, I'm in the reading out the New Living Translation. If y'all are reading along and you got a King James and you're not following, I am a King James believer, but I always read out the New Living Translation for my ministry to make sure that my people fully understand what's being said. And as always, I read both versions, and if there's some major translation differences, I always point that out. Because the other versions do take out stuff or add to stuff, or I sometimes don't like the way they translate it. It takes away from the power of the word. So I am aware of that, but I do it again for my lost sheep people to help them understand the lesson that's being taught here. So that's what we're going to be at. So we're going to start in chapter 31, verse 14, and we see here what it says. The Lord is talking to Moses. Like I said, he's giving this Moses giving this proclamation. He's talking to the Lord giving him his final instructions for him to get to the Israelites. So then the Lord told him, said, the Lord said to Moses, the time has come for you to die. Call Joshua and take him with you to the tabernacle, and I will commission him there. So the very first thing that we see here that God does that shows his faithfulness to us, even when we're not faithful to him, is that God would always put you around those that can be a good influence in your life. He would always put you around people that can be a good influence for your life. But you have to choose to follow those people. And that's a lot of times our problem, because we don't want to be around. Like me, man, I used to be the life of the party. I used to get invited to every party. Before I started serving the Lord, I got invited to every party. Honestly, the party when the party, and if I wasn't there, and then when the party till I got there, kind of thing. So I was always hanging out whenever the people had social gatherings. And it wasn't even that I was just buck wild or nothing like that. I wasn't really a party animal. But it's just, I don't know, I just always brought a certain vibe to the party, you know what I'm saying? And it was just, I've always been a people person, so I've always been able to get people to open up and loosen up, so to speak. So when, so my presence there, get people to loosen up, and it just make the party a lot more fun, But since I started serving the Lord, I don't get invited as much. You know why? Because now, back in those days, those parties were going to, there's a lot of smoking and drinking involved and carousing and things of that nature, and I don't do that stuff no more, and not only do I do that, I don't do that, and when you don't do something and other people do it, it makes them uncomfortable, like sometimes, like, I hang out with my friends, like, every year we got a reunion, of my friends that I used to work with in my first chemistry job. And we get to do at least once a year. We get together, and they like to drink and stuff. And I know it's gonna be drinking there, but I just love our old war stories, and we get together and talk about that. And they know I don't drink, but in the first few, they got used to it now. But the first couple of years is always awkward because everybody they got their beer and they mix drinks and stuff, and I just had my water. And a lot of people, when they're in their tomfoolery, so to speak, it almost make them feel bad. And I would tell I'm not judging. If that's what you got, You know what I'm saying? That's what you got to do. You know what I'm saying? You feel that's what you got to do to get by. That's on you. I was at that point. You know what I'm saying? I've grown past that. I've had my share of alcohol. I've had my share of marijuana and drugs and stuff like that. So I moved past that. I've grown past that. But you know what I'm saying? But a lot of people, I don't, like I said, I still don't get invited as much because I'm not as fun as I used to be, I guess. You know, so you have to choose to if you're going to be around positive people or not. You know, and God always built positive people in your world. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times, because we choosing worldly things or non-spiritual things, we won't be around those godly people. We rather, you know, instead of going and hanging out at the church group and going through the church activities, you know what I'm saying, we rather go and hang out at the club with our, you know, our friends kind of thing. You know, so you have to choose this. This is why a lot of people don't go to church. They always use the excuse, oh, well, I feel judged or this and that. But no, they just be under conviction by being around, you know, godly people sometimes. So you have to make a choice. But God would always put you in a position. He'll always have good people around you. Everybody around you is not bad. You know, that's why because matter of fact, I'm dealing with a situation now. I got an uncle that passed away last week. He was at work last Monday and you know, collapsed, and they said his heart stopped twice. And you know, they resuscitated him, got to the hospital, but by then it was too late. He had already suffered enough brain damage because his brain was so long without air. So he's on a life support for 2-3 days. But then when they unplugged him, he passed away. And he was one of the people in my life because my dad wasn't around. My dad never was around, so he was one of my. What's going on, man? And I appreciate you being here, Duke. I'm glad you see you've been doing good, brother. I'm glad you're being here. But like I said, my dad wasn't around, so you know, so he was one of the guys that one of the people that was a positive influence in my life. You know, so you know, and I've had several of those. And matter of fact, that's one thing I pray for every day, and one thing I thank God for every day. All the positive men that he put in my life over the years because my dad wasn't around. And this uncle of mine that passed away, he was one of them. And like I said, sadly, he was 60 years old, man, and just passed away at work. And so I got to go down home this weekend, Thursday and Friday. The funeral is Friday, and the family actually asked me to do the eulogy. So I get to do that, and hopefully, you know, I pray to God be with me so I can honor him. But, you know what I'm saying? But I've always done that. Like, I've had people around my life, and everybody has some good and bad. Like even my uncle, he loved women. You know, he loved women. He got like 9 kids. He got like 2 ex-wives. So I mean, he loved women. But you know, I chose the good. He was a good dude too. You know what I'm saying? And I chose to follow the good, the good that he did, and not the bad. And we do that with everybody. You can either choose to follow the bad and the good. Even me, I got some good and I got some bad. Bass, I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Hey, you know, and you know you were there with me when I started, so I'm glad you're here. But you know, like I said, I got some good about me. I got some bad about me. You know, so you can always choose what you can do, and you can choose whether good people in your world. You know, people are good. You know, we all got a sense of somebody's crooked and somebody's good. And a lot of times we follow the crooked person because they more fun. You know what I'm saying? You follow the dude that always got the weed, or you know, the dude that always got the girls around him, or the one that always pouring the drink, buying the drink. That's the one you follow because it's more fun. So you have to choose, but God will put good people in your life, but you got to make that choice to follow those good people. So again, we'll first thing we'll cry is God ain't faithful, God don't show us the way, but He's showing you the way. He's putting good people in your life, you're just not following. You know what I'm saying? I got a list. I got a slew of people, like I said, men that I thank God for every day, that I pray for every day, that over the years, like, you know what I'm saying, it's like one guy, you know, something happened to separate me from one guy, and another one will pop up. You know what I'm saying? I got guys these days, I got 2 guys that I call my dad to this day because they were like to me. They were like father figure. One of them was my first boss. It was weird. The first one was my scoutmaster because I was an Eagle Scout, and my scoutmaster, he was always like my dad. You know, and he was a very spiritual dude. And to this day, if I go to Memphis, I don't go to Memphis without seeing him. You know, he got pictures of all my kids. He called them his grandkids, and I called him dad because he had that much of a positive influence in my life. Another one is a guy of mine, a friend of mine. He was actually my boss for my first job. I got a job washing dishes when I was 16, and me and him just clicked. I can't explain it. And he was always a positive. He never had kids of his own. So he kind of took me, him and his wife kind of adopted me, so to speak. And even whenever I go to Memphis, I get to stay in their house. You know, so God has always put good people in my life, even my friends, even people I hung out with. I had some good friends, I had some terrible friends. You know what I'm saying? But he's always put positive people in my life, and you got to make the decision whether you're gonna follow those. You know what I'm saying? Again, we'll accuse God of not being faithful to us, but when in reality he is. He's putting those positive people in our lives, but we choosing to follow the negative people. And that's what he did here. He told Moses, now Moses getting ready to die. You know, he's getting ready to pass on. Now, he could have just left them to their own devices. You know, Israel for the last 40 years have been nothing but rebels. They've been hard-headed, doing everything he told them not to do. So he could have just left them to their own devices. But what did he do? He brought up another spiritual guy. He knew how big Moses, what a big part Moses had played in their lives, leading them where they need to be spiritually. And he brought another spiritual advisor. The guy that worked right under Moses was just as spiritual as Moses was. You see what I'm saying? So he put the right leaders in there, but they got to choose whether they want to follow it or not. So the Lord will put people in your life that'll lead you in the right direction, but you got to choose you want to follow them. Who are you going to follow? And that was actually one of our points from the last lesson, though I said both of these kind of interject with each other. You know, and one of the points from last week, make sure you're following the right people. Make sure you're following godly men. Because the Lord will put them in there, but you just got to decide whether you want to follow them or not. You know, he would give them to you. So, number one, the Lord would always put you around those that can be good for you. But you have to choose if you want to follow those their example, or you're going to follow the example of the world. But the Lord, he's faithful. He will always put people in your life. Like I said, I can look over my life, and at every stage where I really needed a male figure or somebody to step up and take the mantle of being, my dad, so to speak, because my dad wasn't doing it, there was always somebody there. Always somebody there. And I can't mention everybody because we'll be here all night, but I'm talking about football coaches. I had a community center where I used to hang out at all the time at Greenlaw. I spent the majority of my time as a child. You know, there was people there. My basketball coach there, Coach Red Devil. I mean, it was so many. I got a list of people that over the years that I've been, and this is all people from North Memphis. You know what I'm saying? Even some of the drug dealers in North Memphis. I don't know if y'all heard my testimony, but the thing that kept me from selling drugs when I lived in North Memphis was other drug dealers. You know what I'm saying? They would, they would tell me like, man, man, they would, they tell me like, if we ever see you on this corner, we're gonna have some problem. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna have a problem. And these guys were scary dudes. So if they said, because the thing is, there was other kids that was, trying to get into the game and stuff like that, and they were allowing them. They was allowing them to do whatever. But if I even looked like I was going to hang out on the corner, they'd be like, hey, you need to get to your house. Or if they saw me hanging with the wrong dude, they would tell me, hey, you don't need to be hanging out with him. You know what I'm saying? They always warned me. And another thing they would do, which is why I was so good at school, was because I was always broke. My mom, she spent all our money on drugs or whatever. So if I made good grades in school, they gave me a certain amount of dollars for like every A. They gave me a certain amount of dollars for every B. So you know what I'm saying? So they were like, so when we got a report card every 6 weeks, first thing I did, I go hit the corners, take my report card around to the drug dealers, and they throwing me money. You see what I'm saying? So they were positive. Yes, they were doing wrong, but they had positive influence as well. So it was some good there, it was some bad there. Yeah, they was doing things they weren't supposed to do, but they influenced me in a good way. They encouraged me to not, and the reason why they were telling me not to do that, because they knew they was living a life. And they knew what kind of life they were living, and they knew how bad it was, and that's why they was encouraging me not to go down that road. You know what I'm saying? They was encouraging me not to go down that road. They were like, hey, man, look, I know you see me doing this. And now I'm one of you told you, man, look, I know you see me doing this, and it look cool. He said, I wish I could do what you do. He said, I wish I could be as smart as you are. He said, I'm only doing this because I'm not. He said, and I see, I see something in you, man. He said, just keep going to school and stay out this. He said, man, you need money, come holler at me. He said, but I don't want to see you on these corners. You know what I'm saying? So God always put positive influences in your life. But you got to decide which way you're going to follow. Are you going to follow the bad or the good? And a lot of time we have this negative attitude, so we follow the negativity instead of following the positivity. But you get to choose that. And the Lord will put him there. And that's what he's doing to the Israelites. Moses, which was their spiritual leader, he's the guy that's been guiding them for the last 30, 40 years, is getting ready to die. And he made sure that he replaced him with another strong spiritual leader. You know what I'm saying? Hey, yeah, man, I do remember you stayed at the house all the time. Just saw that what you put there, man. Hey, let me know. I'll hit you up. I'll inbox you after the service. I'll be honored to do that, bro. Just let me know. We'll work out the details. So number one, like I said, God would always put you around those that can be a good influence for you, but you have to make the choose. You have to choose to follow their example. So that's just one of the aspects of faithfulness. Again, even when you're being bad, you know what I'm saying? Even when you're being bad, even you been down there being low, he will still do that. He will put you in a position where you have positive people around you, have a positive atmosphere around you, but you got to choose who you want that atmosphere. So then the next verse he says, so Moses and Joshua went and presented themselves at the tabernacle, and the Lord appeared to them in a pillar of, I'm trying to read with these glad. And the Lord appeared to them in a pillar of cloud at the entrance of the sacred tent. So number two is this: when you wholeheartedly search for the Lord, He will appear. If you really searching for God, if you get to that moment, like the prodigal son, you know, when the prodigal son, when he was down there, he left his dad. The dad, give me my money. I want to go here and do what I want to do. I don't want to follow your rules no more. I just want to go live my life and do what I want to do. And he left. And they say he went off to a foreign land and spent his money on drinking and drugs and women. You know, and then he ended up being broke, and he was down there feeding pigs. And he was so hungry that he was going to eat the same food that the pigs was going to eat. And he said, but when he came to himself, you know what I'm saying, he thought, I can just go back to my father. And he said, you know what I'm saying, he said, I can go back to my father, and even the servants there eat like kings. He said, so even if I just go back to my dad and I can't be his son, the position of son no more, I can just be his servant, I'll still be pretty well off. So he said, he started back home, and he said when he was still far away, his dad had looked at him and ran to him. So you see, so why? Because he had wholeheartedly made that decision. He realized that he had messed up, and he had wholeheartedly made the decision to go back to his father. You know what I'm saying? And his father was sitting there waiting. Like, and y'all have heard me talk about this story before, but I guarantee his father was sitting there waiting. That's how he was able to see him afar away. If he wasn't waiting for him, he wouldn't have been able to see him until he got close to the property. But it says when he was afar off. So see, and that's what you got to understand with God. All you got to do, when you get afar away from God, you get off that path, and you start going down that wrong road, all you got to do to get back to God is just make the decision that you're going to go back to Him. And inscription I used to write when I gave guys Bibles at the jail, I used to write this inscription, and I would sign my name, and I was right in there to remember, when you take one step toward God, He'll take 3 steps towards you. And that's all you got to do. When you wholehearted, and you notice I said wholeheartedly. In other words, no, we're bad about, I'm with you, God, especially when things going wrong. Oh, I'm with you, God. I'm start going back to church, and then things start going right. You right back out of church. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I'm with you, God. You know, you up on the mountaintop, things good. I'm with you, God. But then when things go bad, you stop doing the things that you was doing at first. That's why I say wholeheartedly. It got to be a wholehearted decision to turn to the Lord. And when you make that wholehearted decision to turn back to Him, He's going to be right there with His arms wide open, waiting for you to come back, because He's faithful. You know what I'm saying? Because He never, and something else we talked about in the last lesson, He never abandons you or forsakes you. But He will take His hand off of you and allow you to go down the path that you want to go down. He will allow you to go down and do the things that you want to do. You know what I'm saying? And this is one of my points. I don't want to get ahead of myself, but a lot of things that we experience when we do that is not Him not being faithful to you, it's you not being faithful to Him. And that's actually one of my points coming up, but it's just, it fits in right here as well. And that's what we got to understand. So when you wholeheartedly turn to the Lord, He will appear to you. When you go looking for God, if you truly looking for God, because a lot of people, we say we're looking for God and we're not. You know, because He'll show up. You know what I'm saying? We're like, God, show me a sign. Matter of fact, I'm thinking this. I just thought about it. It was this one time I was going out soul winning. I was down in Dixon, which if y'all know where I stay in New Johnsonville. So Dixon about 45 minutes, an hour away from me. So it's about an hour away, but I like to go to there. It's a big city, and I can meet a lot of different people. So I was out knocking on the doors over in the projects, and I knock on the door, and I come across this young lady. And she wasn't saved. And she was like, oh, well, I don't just really know if I believe in God and this kind of thing. So, you know what I'm saying? So I started telling about how I was at my point where I didn't believe in God. And I started telling her my testimony, you know. And when I got to my testimony, I was talking about the guy that was going to try to rob me and kill me. He was a guy that we used to have a problem with back. Matter of fact, Duke, I'm talking about Man G. You know, I'm telling her about Man G. Turns out she knew this dude. She actually hung out with the dude because he's dead now. He died in a car wreck. But she actually hung out with this dude like a day or two before he died. So, and he was from Springfield. She was from Springfield. So she was from Springfield, just happened to be in Dixon. I'm from New Johnsonville, just happened to be in Dixon. And we meet, and I tell her, like, man, like, and so she was like, man, well, you know, and I'm like, well, why you haven't, you know, accepted the Lord? She like, why just God got to send me a sign or something? And I'm like, lady, what more of a sign you need? We are from 2 completely different areas. I just happen to be knocking on doors and knock on a door, and we both have the same dude in common, and I just happen to bring this dude up because he's in my testimony. Yeah, man, he died he died about 7-8 years ago. He died a while ago in a bad car wreck in Springfield on his way home from Springfield. Matter of fact, it was on the news because and just, I know it's a little off topic, but he was either on his way home from come back to Nashville from Springfield or heading towards Springfield. But something happened and he passed out. I don't know exactly the details, but something happened. He passed out and he drove across the median and he hit another car head on, and he died instantly. And in the other car was a lady, her mom, and her 3 kids, and everybody in the other car died except for the baby that was in the car seat in the back. So it was a real tragic thing, and it was on the news. And of course they painted him out to be a monster, but that wasn't really the case. It really changed his life around. But yeah, he died. I think that was about 7-8 years ago, man. He's been gone for a while. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. So I'm telling this story, and this guy just the girl, she's like, what's his name in real? I'm like, yeah. She's like, I know him, and and she had personal contact. So again, we was from 2 different cities. And in another city that neither one of us was from, and I knocked on the door talking about the Lord, and she said, well, the Lord need to send me a sign. I'm like, lady, what do you got to do? Smack you across your face before you recognize it? But a lot of people do that. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want to give in to the Lord. They want to continue to do the things they're doing. They want to continue on the path they're on. And she knew the Lord was knocking on her heart. And I prayed the young lady got saved. Of course, I gave her a track. She didn't want to get saved. She didn't feel like the Lord was calling her in and anything like that. So I prayed that she ended up getting saved. But I mean, what more obvious can you be? So you got to understand, when you go searching for the Lord will show up. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of times, like I said, he'll show up and tell you that you got to stop doing some of them things you're doing. And that's why a lot of times we reject him. Or we just say, oh, well, that wasn't God. That was just a coincidence. Like, lady, that can't be a coincidence. You know what I'm saying? Like, we from completely 2 different areas, to completely 2 different ages, and we know the same dude. And the only reason why we know him because he's a part of my testimony. I'm like, well, I mean, God can't do no more for you than that. Like, if that ain't enough sign, that I don't know what it is. So, again, God will show up. But be prepared that when he show up, to do the things that he tell you to do when he shows up. You know what I'm saying? And I always say to people, don't ask God to take something out of your life if you're not serious about it. Don't ask God to show you what you're doing wrong if you're not serious about it. Because when he show you what you're doing wrong and you keep on doing wrong, then that's a problem. Then he's not gonna he know that you're not being faithful, and he's not gonna listen to you next time that you request something. But when you wholeheartedly ask God to show up and show you something or do something for you, God will show up. He's faithful. He will show up. But you gotta understand. God is not mocked. He knows when you're being serious, and he knows when you're not being serious. So you got to understand that God is not mocked. But if you wholeheartedly call out to the Lord, ask the Lord to show you something or to guide you in the direction or help you get to where you need to be, he will do it because he is faithful, even when we're unfaithful. So, you know what I'm saying? And it is so much trickery, and it is hard, bro. And that's why you got to get in his word, and you get in his word, and you build up that relationship. The Lord will help you get where you need to be. You'll be able to tell, you know what I'm saying, what's that saying? Real recognize real. You'll be able to tell the real from the fake immediately. You know what I'm saying? You'll be able to, that's why me and you click so much. That's why y'all hung out with me like we did. Because even though I was doing my thing, I was always real with y'all, and I always did what I can to motivate y'all to do better for yourselves as well. Real recognize real. And that's what you got to do. And the only way you'll be able to recognize real is you get in his word and get that close relationship with the Lord. And you understand that the Lord is faithful, even when we're not. So number 2, like I said, if you really call out to God, you wholeheartedly turn to the Lord, he will appear. And that's what they did. And the Lord told them to go and present themselves. When it said present themselves, in other words, they went, they had to, first of all, they had to purify themselves and do all that stuff, but they presented themselves. They went there with the wholehearted intention with meeting with the Lord and getting the word from the Lord, so for them getting instructions and word from the Lord for them to take their next move and do what they need to do next. They went there intently with the intentions of meeting with the Lord and doing honoring whatever the Lord told them to do. So when you do that, he will show up. He will tell you to do or tell you what you need to do, but you got to be willing to do what it is. And a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, whatever God tells us to do is opposite of what we actually want to do, actually want to be doing. So that's the problem. But again, the Lord is faithful. And if you look for him, if you wholeheartedly look for him, he will appear, just like he did with Moses and Joshua. So then next verse he says, so in verse 16 it says, so the Lord said to Moses, you are about to die and join your ancestors. Now, after you are gone, these people will begin worshiping foreign gods, the gods of the land where they are going, and they will abandon me and break the covenant I have made with them. So number 3 is this: the Lord still blesses you despite knowing that you were sin. You know what I'm saying? The Lord still blesses you despite knowing that you were sin. Because look what he said here. He said, when you are gone, after you are gone, these people will begin worshiping foreign gods, the gods of the land where they are going. They will abandon me and break the covenant I have made with them. So what he's saying, I already know. He said, but notice what so basically what he's saying is, I'm going to take them. I'm still going to lead them to the land. You know, but when they get there, they're going to abandon me. So in other words, he already know what they're going to do. He already know they're going to sin. He already know they were going to lead him, but he's still faithful enough that he's still going to lead them there anyway. Because you got to think about it, if he already know, why even let them go in there? If he know they ain't going to be faithful, why even let them go in there? You know what I'm saying? If he know that they're going to get in there and they're going to abandon him and start worshiping these other gods, why even, like me and my kids, if I already know that I'm going to take my kids somewhere and they're going to act the fool, then I'm not going to take them. If I know that, now my kids, I don't have that problem with my kids, but if I know that if I go to Walmart and I take my kids to Walmart, they're going to act the fool in Walmart, I'm not going to take them into Walmart because I don't want them embarrassing me. You know what I'm saying? I don't want them acting a fool. You know, so he know that when they get to this land, they're going to act in a fool, but yet he's still going to take them, guide them to the land anyway. He's still going to make a way for them to get in there anyway. Why? Because he's faithful. Because he made a promise that he was going to lead them into the land, and he's faithful to his promise. So that's what I'm saying. The Lord, even though he knows they're not going to be faithful. It's not like they got there. They're like, ha ha, God, we trick you. We took the land. We tricked you. He knew. He even told them. He said, now when they get there, I'm gonna lead them there. But when they get there, they're gonna turn their back on me. He already knew, but yet he still blessed them. He still kept them protected as they went to the land. Matter of fact, when they got ready to go into the land, they had to cross a river. You know what I'm saying? They had to cross a river. And when they crossed that river, he stopped the water. He told them, he said, carrying the ark of the covenant. He said, when the Levites that's carrying the ark step into the water's going to stop. So, I mean, he did mighty things. He did mighty things to make sure that they got into the land. Of course, you know what they did with the Jericho. The walls came coming down. I mean, he miraculously brought them into that land, and he blessed them in a mighty way to get into that land, knowing that they still were going to turn their back on him after all that he did that. He still did that because he was faithful. You know what I'm saying? He said, what if it's out of, it is out of his control. And it's kind of one of my other points. I didn't want to get into it, but it is out of his control because we have free will. You know, God can't make us behave. God, that's why I tell y'all one of the main concepts I preach to y'all is self-control. You know what I'm saying? You have to, if you can't control yourself, God can't control you. No, God won't be able to use you. If you can't control yourself, he won't be able to use you because he doesn't control you. He still give you the opportunity. See, he's blessing that even though he knows that they're going to turn their back on him. In a way, it's like he's still hopeful that maybe once they see once they see that I stopped these waters and I brought them in there in this miraculous way, maybe that'll keep them from going the other way. Maybe once they see how I brought down the walls of Jericho in this miraculous way, maybe that'll keep them faithful. You know what I'm saying? That's what God, he's always giving us that benefit of the doubt. And that's what God do. He'll always he'll put you in a position and he'll give you the opportunity to be successful, but you still have to make the decision. That's what free will is. You know what I'm saying? You still have to make the decision. You know what I'm saying? But he knows us. It's just like if I'm sitting, I know my kids. I know if my daughters had a choice between Brussels sprouts and pizza, they're going to choose pizza every time. But in my heart, I'm like, maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe they actually choose the healthy. You know what I'm saying? We're going to eat pizza. Do y'all want pizza or a salad? Maybe they'll choose the salad and surprise me. You know what I'm saying? Like, now I'm staying hopeful. But every single time they choose the pizza. You know what I'm saying? Because he knows them, but yet he's still hoping. You know what I'm saying? He's still open. And like you said, he don't really have control because we have free will. And that's why you notice in the first point I said, he's going to give you the good influences, but you got to choose to follow it. You see what I'm saying? And that's the thing. That's honestly, our free will is really our gift and our curse. It's a gift because God gave us the ability to really kind of be like, that's the way to be like him, because we can choose to follow him and serve him or not. You know what I'm saying? But it's a curse because it would be much easier on us if we just didn't have the option. Like the angels, they don't really have the options. And you see, the one time they did have an option to follow God or Lucifer, they followed Lucifer, and look what happened. Hell was created because of it. You see what I'm saying? So we got to understand, it's a gift and a curse. God, He still blesses, even though He knows we're gonna do wrong. He knows we're gonna do And I'm picking on my girls, but they lose love and pizza, But he knows what they're gonna do, but He's still hopeful. Maybe, just maybe. So I think that's why He kept on giving me a chance. Like, maybe one day John would just get it. And thank God I finally did. You see what I'm saying? And that's why I'm one of those, I ain't going to say rare because I'm not nothing special, but I think people like me in my situation, you know my situation firsthand, the situation that I was in and what I left behind and when I went to, that's why He do it. Maybe one of these knuckleheads will get it. Maybe they'll see what I'm really trying to do for them. Maybe they'll see how blessed they can be if they serve me, and they'll come back to me. You just keeping hope alive. You know what I'm saying? Just maybe. Now He knows 9 times out of 10 this is what they're gonna choose, but just maybe that one time out of 10 they actually choose to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? And that's why the Lord is still faithful to us. You know what I'm saying? He still gives us opportunity, even though He knows we're going to be knuckleheads. Matter of fact, if you really think about it, if you're saved, our salvation is built on that. Because if you go through the Romans roll, Romans 5:8 says what? While we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. You know what I'm saying? That's one whenever I'm going over the gospel people, I always spend a lot of time on it to make sure they understand what they're saying. That while we were yet sinners, in other words, He knew that we were going to be terrible. He knew we were going to be sinners. He knew we couldn't be perfect. He knew that we were still going to do stuff we weren't supposed to do, but yet He still made a way for us to be reconciled with His Father by sacrificing Himself. He knew that while we were yet sinners, He didn't tell us to clean ourselves up and well, I'm going to see how the human race going, see if they get any better, then I'm going to go down and make this sacrifice. He went down and made that sacrifice knowing that we were going to be terrible. So number 3, that's why I said number 3, the Lord will still bless us despite knowing that we will sin, because He's faithful to us. He's faithful to us. He won't nothing like we all got kids on here. It's same with our kids. You know what I'm saying? I got some of my kids that's doing good, some of them are knuckleheads. You know what I'm saying? But I don't just abandon them. I hope I might have to spank their butts, or they might have to cut them off a little bit to help them understand that I'm serious. But I never abandon them. I always got hope that they're going to finally get it and get on the right path and stay on the right path. And that's how God does with us the same way. We're His children, especially if we're saved. Even the unsaved are still His children, even though they deny Him. But the saved are definitely His children. And even though we're saved and we're His children, we still mess up. And that's why he keep that hope. Maybe they'll finally get it. Maybe that day, because once we get it, we can do great things. And that's what happened to me 17 and a half years ago. I finally got it. It clicked. And it all made sense. Like, oh my gosh, God been having me, He been blessing me this whole time. And He been having me go through this and this and this whole time so I can do this work. And that's why I've been able to do this work that I've been able to do, because I finally got it. And that's why He continue to stay faithful to us, and His mercy endure forever, because He's hopefully one day this human race will get it. They'll understand the significance of me. They'll understand the significance of having a close relationship with me. And man, they'll get it. And when they did it, oh man, it'll be so great. And that's why He does, and that's why He continues to bless us, because it's not that He's just a slacker or He's just too nice pushover. It's because He's hoping that one day we'll see it and we'll get it, and once we see it and we get it, we'll come back to Him and do a mighty work in His name. That's why He continues. So again, number 3, the Lord still blesses you even despite knowing that you will sin. And like I said, the reason why He do that, because He's hoping one day you will get it, and when you get it, you'll see how good He's been to you, and then you'll come back and be good to Him and be faithful to Him as He has been to you. So that was number 3. So the next verse He says this. He says so. When he said, after you are gone, these people will begin worshiping foreign gods, the gods of the land they are going, and they would abandon me and break my covenant I have made with them. He said, then my anger will blaze forth against them. I will abandon them, hiding my face from them, and they will be destroyed. Terrible trouble will come down on them, so they will say, these disasters have come because God is no longer among us. And at that time I will hide my face from them on account of all the sins they have committed by worshiping other gods. So number 4, no, that sound like you said, well, John, you say he gonna be faithful, but right there it sounds like he's saying he's abandoning them, and that's not what he's saying. Number 4 is this: nothing can separate you from the love of God but yourself. And that is there's nothing on this earth, there's nothing in heaven that can separate you from the word of God, from the love of God, but yourself. So you see why he said he abandoned. And if you look at, he didn't abandon them, they abandoned him. Because look, he said they would break my covenant with them. My anger would blaze forth against them, and I would abandon them, hide my face from them, and they would be destroyed. Terrible trouble will come down on them. So they will say, these disasters have come because God is no longer among us. So you see, it's not that God has abandoned them, they abandoned God. That's why. And that's what we do a lot of times. When things start going wrong and we start having problems, we think that God abandoned us, and it's not that God abandoned us, we abandoned God. And that's what he's saying there. They didn't, nothing can separate us from the love of God. There's nothing you can do that separates you from the love of God, but you can reject that love. And how do you reject that love? By doing the stuff you know you're not supposed to be doing. Going to places you know you're not supposed to be going. Being around the people you know you're not supposed to be being around. Not doing the things you know you're supposed to be doing, like reading your Bible, going to church when you're getting time to going to church, making time to go to church, reading your Bible like you're supposed to, praying every day. You know what I'm saying? Trying to do your best to spread that word. You see what I'm saying? You're rejecting the love that God has for us, and that's the only thing you do. You can't lose it, but you can reject it. You know what I'm saying? You can reject it. No, he don't. And the thing is, and we're gonna get down to it. It's not that he's abandoning them, but again, like I said earlier, he leaves them to their own devices, because that's the only way they can come back around. You know what I'm saying? Like matter of fact, perfect example. And it might sound like I abandoned him. My old son Jason. He got into when his first year of college. When he was 18. You know what I'm saying? Went up to college, got to college, started drinking and smoking and partying and stuff. And ended up, failing. He made it through one semester of college. Then the second semester, he just completely funked out. I don't even think he went to class. You know what I'm saying? So he ended up having to come back home. And I told him off top, like, if you're going to be here, you're going to work. You're going to find you a job somewhere. You're going to work. You're not just going to be sitting around my house, eating my food and using my electricity, not paying no bills. Like, you're going to pay bills. You're going to have a curfew. I'm like, it ain't finna be I'm just laying around dad house, smooching off dad. Like, you're going to contribute, and you're going to have some rules and regulations. I said, if you want to do that, if you willing to do that, fine. I even drew up a contract, and I put everything in the contract. I like, this is the contract. I said, if you think you can do that, here's the contract. You sign this contract. I said, if not, then you need to find you somewhere else to stay. And he said, I ain't doing that. I ain't doing all that. And he left. And he went and something to do, and I told him, I said, there's certain people that you're not going to be able to hang around. Because I knew they were bad influence. I knew they were bad people. Like, I was trying to get them to do our first concept, be around the right people. And next thing you know, we get to the house, because I told him on the way there, and I guess he texted his buddies or whatever. And by the time we got to the house, a car pulled up. And who was it? The very dudes that I told him not to go hang out with. And he left. And I didn't see him for like a day or two. About 2-3 days later, he come, oh, Dad, I'm ready to sign this contract. You know what I'm saying? And he had a completely different attitude. I'm like, man, what's going on? Turns out, while he was out staying with him and his buddies decided to go and breaking people's cars. Where they weren't breaking in, they're going and checking the doors. Because where we live at, people don't really lock their doors. I know it's weird. I don't lock my doors. I lock my doors in my house, but not my truck, because I ain't got nothing in there anyway. But people don't lock their doors on their vehicles around here. So what they was doing, they was going around checking people's vehicles, and whoever had the door open, they going in the vehicle, seeing it, whatever electronic, whatever they can find, they got their hands on. They took it. And what I'm saying, and it was so crazy. They did it. It was like on a Wednesday night, and Thursday night the police had already came out. They knew exactly who had did it. So he didn't get away with it. So he thought, come back to the house, he'd be protected, he'd be taken care of. But that's not what happened. You know what I'm saying? And what ended up happening, like up here, our court system is small, so it takes a while. But about a month or so later, police came out on the door and said, hey, you need to come down to this courthouse. And he went down there, and guess what? They booked him. And he stayed in jail for about 45 days. And guess what? I didn't put not $1 on his books. I didn't know. I went and visited him a couple times. Matter of fact, the weird part about it, the very first time that I went into the jail to preach, he was in my class. You know what I'm saying? Like, the very first time I got to go into jail and preaching to the jails, I had just started my jail ministry. He was in jail, and he was in my very first class. And of course, he's sitting right across, looking me in my eye. You know what I'm saying? Focusing on every word I'm saying. And I'm like, it's too late now, son. You had plenty of time to soak this knowledge up. And I didn't abandon him as far as like, oh, you're not my son anymore, I'm done. But I let him But I didn't bail him out. You see what I'm saying? I didn't bail him out the trouble he got himself in. I didn't give him no money. I didn't fund his foolishness. I let him get himself out. And guess what happened? He haven't been back ever since. So it's not a sense of embettering, like I'm just done with you or whatever. But he will take his hand off and like, all right, if this is what you want to do, there you go. And you're gonna suffer your consequences. And that's what God said, telling them. If you go down this path, there's a certain consequence that you're gonna suffer if you go down this path. You know what I'm saying? And he said, and the way they translate it to is abandon, but it's more of a sense that he's just going to take his hand off and let him, because we got to understand the reason why we're able to do the things that we do, the reason why we're safe every day, the reason why we're able to wake up every day is because of God's grace. The reason why we're able to go home, go to work, and make it back home safely, that's God's grace. None of this stuff is guaranteed. You're not guaranteed that when you leave the house and come back. Matter of fact, that's what happened to my uncle. He got up, went to work like a normal day, never made it back home. He collapsed right at work, had a heart attack, congestive heart failure right there at work, never made it back home. He left out that day, just a normal work day, never made it back home. See, it's the grace of God that brings you back home safely every day. You know what I'm saying? It's the grace of God that allows you to go across the city or stay wherever you go to work and then make it back home. So what happens is when you get to going down that path of getting away from God, he just take that grace, he just take his hand off and just leads to the world. And the reason why he do that is because the world got a way of straightening you back up and bringing you back to your senses. The world will smack you upside your head and you realize that ain't what you want to work first place, and what you do, you run back home to dad. And you know what? Dad is faithful, because like I said earlier, he might say he abandoned them, because if you look at the Israelites, he let them go be captured, and he kicked them out of the land for 70 years. But guess what? When they started back to worshiping the Lord, realized their mistakes, they came back to Israel and reestablished their nation once again. So he's faithful, but he will let you make your own decisions, and he will let you suffer the consequences of your actions. And that's what he means by abandon. It ain't that he completely abandoned them, because he will never forsake you and abandon you. But he will take his hand of grace off of you and let you suffer the consequences of your action. He will do that. So you got to understand that nothing can separate you from the love of God. Because even when you're going through that, even when he's taking his hand of grace, it ain't like it's an easy thing to do. It's just like spanking your kids. I hate having to spank my kids. I hate having to discipline my kids, because I know for the next day or two, there's gonna be some attitudes, and we're not gonna get as long as good as we have before. It's gonna be a little tension there in their relationship. I hate having to do that, but I know if I don't do that, I'm setting them up for failure. So God hate having to take his hand of grace off his children. He hate having to be there, not being able to be there for them. But he know if he don't, they're never going to learn, and they can continue down a path where they're going to end up away from him. So he has to just step back and just let them do what they want to do. And that's what he means by that. But you got to understand, even in that, he still loves them. Even the people that's in hell right now, God don't hate those people that's in hell right now. He loves those people. That's why I say the Lord is not willing that one should perish. There's never in a situation where they don't love him, but he can't be around them, because that's what they chose. Because of their decision, that's what they ended up at. They chose to be there. So he can't let them in heaven, but that don't mean he loved them any less. You see what I'm saying? Nothing can separate us from the love of God. You have to understand that the only thing that can separate us from the love of God is us ourselves choosing to reject that love. You see what I'm saying? Choosing to reject that love. So yeah, it's being taught a lesson, and sometimes that's the only way to be taught. You know what I'm saying? I know, like I said, with my kids, I gave them the game. I gave them the game. I gave them knowledge, but it still took them going out into the world and touching that stove and seeing that stove was really hot before they really learn, like, oh, I don't need to touch that because that stove was hot, just like my daddy told me. So, so a lot of times when what we're going through is just God teaching us a lesson. This is what's going to happen if you continue to go down this path. So then, the next verse, it says this. It says, in verse 19, it says, now write down the words of this song and teach it to the people of Israel. Teach them to sing it so it may serve as a witness against them. For I will bring them into the land I swore to give their ancestors, a land flowing with milk and honey. So again, number 5 is this. We see again, he's been faithful. And number 5 is actually the title of our lesson. Our faithfulness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So again, he told them, he just sit there and told them, I'm going to bring him into this land. You know what I'm saying? And he's going to bring them to the land because he promised to bring them to the land. He's faithful to his promise. He told them he's going to get them that land, so he's getting them that land. He's faithful to his promise. But he's saying, even though I'm being faithful, y'all not going to be faithful to me. So again, even though he's still being faithful to us, we're not faithful to him, but he's still going to be faithful to us. And like I said, every day we wake up, it's God giving us another opportunity to get it right. Get it right. Every day wake up. Let me see what you say. That right there, bro. That's where your faith come in. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, I never knew him, because the thing is, the reason why we don't know him is because we're not trying to know him. Kind of what I was talking about earlier. You have to make the decision. You want to know him. Like when I wasn't following God earlier because I wasn't trying to follow God. You see what I'm saying? It's not that he don't want to be known. That's what his word's for. That's why I encourage you to get in his word. And honestly, you won't know him until for yourself until you get in that word. You know what I'm saying? It ain't that he's not there. It's not that he's not reaching out. It's just that we're rejecting him. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you got to do. It's not, if you don't know him, it's not because he wasn't there for you to know him. It's just that you never chose to put in the time and the effort to get to know him. And I want to make sure you understand that, because when I look back over my life and all the times and all the decisions I made, I saw him. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened that night when I had that big epiphany or whatever you want to call it, and I gave everything up, because I looked back over my life and I saw all the times I could have been dead. I saw all the bad things I had done. I saw all the places, the how terrible things could have been, but I saw that he was there with me the whole time, beckoning me to come to him. So if you don't know him, it's not, I'll put it like this, if you don't know God, know your Father, it's not because of a lack of effort on his part. It's more of a lack of effort on our parts. And that's what we have to realize. And that's what I realized. It wasn't that God had abandoned me, I had abandoned him. You see what I'm saying? Because like I said, he's faithful. That's the whole point of his letter. He's faithful. He was there the whole time. He was trying to pull me into the right direction the whole time. I just wanted to do what I wanted to do. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't know him, again, it's not because he wasn't there or wasn't trying. You just got to reach out to him. You know what I'm saying? That's why I'm hoping with these lessons people will see that and have a different perception about their relationship with God and what they need to do to strengthen that relationship. Because he's there. He's always there. Like, matter of fact, every day you wake up, if you woke up this morning, then guess what? That means God is blessing you. That's a blessing. If you got all your wits about you, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? You're able to walk, you're able to talk, you're able to do things. Those are all blessings from God. And see, every day we wake up and we're able, you know what I'm saying? We have our health. We're able to go out and do what we need to do to provide for our family. We're able to go out to work. Those are all blessings from God. And he gives us those blessings every day, because every day he gives us a different opportunity to get it right. You know what I'm saying? Really, every day. I'm sorry, y'all. That's my cousin calling, probably about the funeral stuff. I had to call her back later. But really, every day is a new opportunity. I know people, they say those little cliches and, you know, today, blah, blah, blah. But that's really true. Every day is like it's a new life for you. You can, every single day, you can make a decision to lead a new life. You know what I'm saying? You can wake up and do the same things you've been doing, the same way you've been doing it, or you can wake up and do something completely different. You have that option every single day. Every day you go to bed, you close your eyes, and you wake up, you have the opportunity to be a different person than where you were the day before. Now, if you're a good person now, don't choose to go bad. You know what I'm saying? But if you know you're not where you need to be at spiritually, if you know you're not where you need to be at as far as the path of God is concerned, then every day that he blesses you on this earth gives you another opportunity to get back to that path. It gives you another opportunity to do that thing that you know you're supposed to be doing. Every day is a blessing. You know what I'm saying? Every day is a blessing. So do we see that as the same for spiritual life, Father? Yeah, it's the same. It's kind of the same way. You know what I'm saying? And you remember the point I talked about earlier. You know, even when dads are not around, you know, there's still some people in there that can be father figures. You know what I'm saying? Still some people in there that can be father figures, and that's what happened to me. Like I said, honestly, when I look at my life, for the longest I was upset that my dad wasn't in my life. For the longest time I was upset that my dad wasn't in my life. But now I'm thankful that he's not in my life, because now, as being a father myself and being an adult and understanding what it takes to be a father and be a man, that dude was just not capable of raising me. If he had been in my life, I would be a terrible person. And there's just no, I mean, every piece of advice he ever gave me was horrible. I mean, there's one time I was needing some money and stuff, and I was down, I was in college, and I hit him up for a few bucks. And he man, I ain't got no money. He said, won't you, I know a connect up there, won't you holler at him and go get you a pack and sell you some dope? Like, what kind of father would tell you that'd be the advice that he gives you? You see what I'm saying? So, you know what I'm saying? So, even though it might seem like, man, these kids are getting a raw deal because their father's not around, but at the same time, it might be a blessing in disguise. Because if any guy that will have a child and know they have a child and abandon it, then that shows you there's a sign of weakness right there off top. So that might not be the person that need to be raising that child, and there might be somebody that's stronger, a better man that can raise that child. You see what I'm saying? That'll give him a better advantage in this world. And that's what happened to me. My dad wasn't around, but I have several guys that I can call dad that came to me over my life over years. Over the years that influenced me to be where I'm at right now. So you got to understand that. So it's not always a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? A father not being present is not always a bad thing because it makes you stronger. I'm the man. I know without a doubt I am the man I am today. I'm able to do this ministry the way I'm able to do this ministry. I'm able to have the strength that I have because my dad wasn't around. And I honestly believe had he been around, I would be a very weak individual. I really do believe that. So you got to understand, it's not always a bad thing. You know what I'm saying? But God is faithful. Even though my dad wasn't around, there was still other positive men around that had influence on me that got me to where I am today. So you got to make sure you understand that. And the reason why is because God is faithful. And I say every day that you wake up, every day that you're able to breathe, every day that you're able to open your eyes and have another day, that's God showing you, hey, man, look, I know you messed up yesterday. I know you were pretty terrible yesterday. Guess what? Today is a new day. Let's do better today. And that's what I try to do with myself, man. And I try to encourage y'all to do the same thing. Every single day, I just try to be better than I was the day before. If I know I was a huge piece of crap yesterday, man, then let me be a smaller piece of crap today. You know what I'm saying? I'm still a piece of crap, but let me at least be some kind of improve some kind of way. And that's what God is doing. That's why He's so faithful. That's why even though you're going the wrong way, even though you're hanging with the wrong people, even though you're doing the wrong thing, He still wakes you up every day. Because like, all right, man, you messed up yesterday, but you know what I'm saying? Maybe today will be the day He get it. You know what I'm saying? Oh, he messed up yesterday, today too. Maybe he'll get it tomorrow. And that's what you do. Just keep on getting us chance, and then finally you do get to a point of no return. Like, okay, all right, well, he obviously ain't gonna get it. It's like with Samson. If y'all know the story of Samson, Samson was hard headed. Samson, Pat, I know you remember that. 'Cause I did that story when you first started listening. Samson was hard headed. He did every single thing that God told him not to do. Broke every single rule. Basically everything except for cut his hair. And that hair was their potential. That's why God kept on blessing him and giving him strength to get out of these situations he put himself in, because he still had that hair, so therefore he still had potential. You know what I'm saying? But once he cut their hair, that was their point of no return. Once he cut their hair, that was it. He had broken every single rule and did every single thing God told him not to do, and what God did, he just took his hands off him. And that's why when the Philistine came to capture him, he didn't have no strength to fight him off, because it said, when you read that, and there's a very important line in there, because when he said, well, he thought he'll wake up, and he thought he'd just wake himself up and snap out a rope like he's done before, but he didn't realize his strength had left him. So he said he went to try to break the ropes to get out of it, but he didn't realize that God had left him. So God had left him because God had gave him time and time again, and he never did come back around. So God finally just took his hands off of him, and that's what happened to him. But again, he didn't completely abandon him. Even though Samson did get his eyes poked out, and he did have to go to prison, he didn't completely abandon him. Because what happened when he was in prison, his hair started to grow back. He humbled himself, and then what happened? He said he prayed to God, give me strength, strengthen me one more time. And there at the end, God gave him his strength back. So God came back to him once what I say in point number 2, when he wholeheartedly went back to looking for God. When he went back to looking for God, God was there. See, God is faithful. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, Samson went through some things. He had to go to prison. He lost his eyes. But that moment when he had that change of heart and he went back to God, God was there waiting for him. And he gave him his strength back. And he was able to pay his enemies back for taking out his eyes. So that's why I say number 5. Our faithlessness. Because when Samson was doing all this stuff, chasing these Philistine women and killing men, robbing dudes, he killing soldiers, burning people's field down, he wasn't being faithful to God. He wasn't in the position that he was supposed to be in, but yet God was still being faithful to him. You know what I'm saying? How do we know when God takes it'll be obvious. You'll start seeing your world start crumbling. It seems like when they say it rains, it pours, or what can go wrong goes wrong, you'll start seeing that happen. You know what I'm saying? It seems like it'll be one problem after another. You know what I'm saying? Situation that you usually can deal with and get out of, no big deal, it all of a sudden be a big deal, and no matter what you do, you can't get your way out of it. That's when you start knowing that God is taking his hand. And again, it's not that he completely abandons you, he just takes his grace back a little bit. Because when because you again, now I use Samson as an example. Why did Samson keep going and keep doing the stuff he knew wasn't supposed to be doing? Because every time he got in a bad situation, what it said, the Spirit of God came over him, and he got the strength and he got himself out of it. So God, as long as God was blessing him, he wasn't going to turn. He wasn't going to have a change of heart. He wasn't going to do anything different. He was going to keep on doing what he was supposed to be doing. But then what happened? God took that hand off of him. And then what happened? He got captured, his eyes got gouged out, and he had to go to prison. You see what I'm saying? So you'll know when you're starting to lose that grace, because things just start going wrong. You start having chaos in your life, and where it used to be everything ran nice and smooth, now it's chaotic. And anything that can go wrong will start going wrong. And that's what happened to me before I made the decision 17 and a half years ago. It was just like, man, no matter if I got 2 steps ahead, I got to push 5 steps back. No matter what happened, I could not get ahead. No matter how hard I worked, no matter what I tried, I just couldn't get ahead. And it just seemed like every time something happened, when it rained, it poured. You know what I'm saying? And I realized because I wasn't living for God, I had abandoned God, so therefore he had abandoned me, so to speak. But when I made the decision to turn my heart back to God, bam, now the complete opposite. You know what I'm saying? Stuff still happens, but it always works itself out. I just make sure I keep going forward serving the Lord. And like I said, it'll be apparent when you God finally got tired of you and your mess, and he's taking a hand off of you, you're going to know it because you're going to feel it. You know what I'm saying? You're going to see it you're going to see it in your life around you, and you're going to see the chaos that comes in your life because you don't have that grace in your life any longer. You no longer have that protection in your life, and that's how you know that, man, I need to get back. And that's what a lot of people do. We'll start seeing stuff going wrong. That's why we'll go back to church, and we'll go back to church, and we start serving God a little bit more than we was, and then it start going good again, and then the first thing we do, go back to our old ways. See, that's why I'm talking about. That's why you have to be faithful. And even with that, God, he'll take it, you know what I'm saying? And then once he sees you start slacking off again, he'll start to take their hand off again. And you can see that all through Judges. That's what happened in the Israelites and Judges. They came into the land, you know, they were doing good. God was blessing them. They started worshiping other gods. So God took his hand off of them. He sent somebody, then somebody came in and conquered them. They was conquered for 5, 10, 15, 20 years, sometimes 40 years. And then after that 40 years, they called out to God. God blessed them again. They was doing good again. And it just was a never-ending cycle. And the reason why that cycle never ended, like, well, why don't you just go destroy him? He won't do that because he's faithful. You know what I'm saying? Even though we're being faithless, he's going to be faithful. And he's going to continue to give you every day to get it right. And he's hoping. That's why he keep being you every day. A lot of people are like, man, why I ain't dead yet? Because God's still hoping you're going to get it right. He's still hoping you're going to get it right. But there is a point of no return. And once you get to that point of no return, he'll take their hand off. You might end up dying, or you might be stuck in prison with your eyes gouged out. But it won't be because God left you. It'll be because you left him. You know what I'm saying? So then the next verse, he says, and I'm going to move on to the next point. So next verse he says this. I'm glad having some good discussion with me tonight, knowing y'all just sit here and let me run my mouth. So next verse he says this. He says, he's talking about, bringing them into the land. And like I said, even though he know they're going to sin, even though he know they're going to worship these other gods, he's still saying that I'm going to bring them into the land. He said, but there they will become prosperous. They will eat all the food they want and become well nourished. Then they will begin to worship other gods, and they will despise me and break my covenant. So number 6 is this. When you look at your life and you're like, man, why am I so broke? Why can't I get ahead? Why I got to work so hard? That's not always a bad thing. So number 6 is this. A lack of materials does not mean a lack of God's faithfulness. And that's what I want y'all to understand, because that's the first thing. Well, I'm broke. I can't get my bills paid. And we might think that well, that's because God not being faithful. He's abandoned me. You know what I'm saying? And that's not the case. A lack of materials does not always mean a lack of God's faithfulness, because an abundance can lead to apathy. See, and that's what happened here. He's saying that once they get into the land, and they get all this rich land, it's going to be flowing with milk and honey, and they're going to have all the food they want, and they're going to have everything they want. Once they get everything they want, guess what they're going to do? They're going to turn their back on me. That's what apathy is. And in case y'all don't understand what apathy is a lack of interest, enthusiasm, or concern. And that's often what happens to us when things are going good in our life. When things are going good in our life, we have no concern for things of God. You know what I'm saying? We'll go to church, and I had this guy, and I hope he don't get mad at me, but he recently just came back to the church. Matter of fact, this Sunday he came back. I ain't seen this guy in months. And the reason why that's significant is before he disappeared from church, he was homeless, and he was actually living in a tent behind our church. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, and I'll never forget it because it was wintertime. So I mean, it was rough. He had some rough months. But guess what? He was in church every single Sunday morning. He was in church Sunday night. He might have been in there just to be warmed up, but he was there. And I had a ministry that I did every 2 weeks. Never missed one of my ministries. He was at every single one of them. You know what I'm saying? And the whole time he was going through this, he was working on getting disability. He was, you know what I'm saying? And you know, anybody that tried disability, you know, they usually deny you a time or two, and it takes a few months, but eventually you'll go ahead and get it. And you know what I'm saying? So the whole time, I mean, he was living behind our church in a tent. Like I said, I think he started living there right around October, so it was right when it started getting cold. And I mean, he was there through like February and March. So I mean, it was like 4 or 5 months. But that whole 4 or 5 months, guess what? He was in church every single Sunday. You know, every service. You know, we have 3 services in our church. We have Sunday morning, Sunday night, and Wednesday night. He was there every single time. You know what I'm saying? I had my ministry every other Tuesday. He was at every single meeting. You know what I'm saying? For those months. Finally, 6 months later, finally got him a lawyer. Lawyer got everything straightened out. Got his money. You know what I'm saying? He got approved disability. And you know, once you get approved disability, they back pay you from when you sent your initial application. And it had been like a year or 2 years. So he got like 2 years worth of payments all at once. You know what I'm saying? 2 weeks later, I hadn't seen him since until this past Sunday. And that was like over a year or so ago. You see what I'm saying? So when he was down and out, he was in church every single time. But then once he got that money, he got back up, got back taken care of. When he was well fed, when he finally had enough money to get him a place, he stopped going to church. You see what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of times, like I wonder, as hard as I work, as much as I do, as talented as I believe I am, as wise as I believe I am, why am I not more well off? I mean, I'm not hurting. Don't get me wrong, y'all. God definitely provides. I mean, I'm taking care of like 6 people on one income. You know what I'm saying? So God provided, and of course my wife got a job and it make it a lot easier. But you know what I'm saying? Still at the same time, like, man, why I can't get ahead? And it might be because if I finally, because I do good when I'm broke. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm so used to always being broke, I do good broke. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times, honestly, when I do get a lot of money, I don't always manage it correctly. And God knows that about me. And maybe He knows that if He give me that money or put me in a position where I'm well off, maybe I develop that apathy. Now I would like to think that I'm going to be faithful no matter what, but I'm not going to be like David and say, not me. Because that's what happened with David. You know what I'm saying? David, you know, the Lord, when He talked about David, He said he was a man after my own heart. You know what I'm saying? So David never imagined that one day that he would have an affair with one of his best soldiers' wives and get her pregnant and then kill this soldier to cover it up. He never thought he'd do nothing like that. But he ended up doing that because he had that not me attitude. So I would love to think that, you know, as faithful as I've been to the Lord, that I would be just as faithful, you know what I'm saying, if I was to come into some money. But I don't know. God knows me better. And that's what I tell you when I pray to God. You know me better than I know myself. Put me in a position to be successful. Make sure you're going to put me in a position where it's going to take me away from you or diminish my relationship with you. So God knows that. You know what I'm saying? So just because you broke or don't have a lot of material things, that don't mean that God is not being faithful to you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of times we take that. Well, I'm always broke. I'm always behind on my bill. But I guarantee you, your bills are still getting paid. Yeah, you might not have a big flat screen TV, but you got you a house. You might not have steak and lobster, but you got food to eat. You know, you might not have a Cadillac or Escalade or a Tesla, but you got you a little hoorah that you can ride around in. So God is being faithful to you. You know what I'm saying? You just got to be faithful to Him. And He being faithful, that's why He's keeping the stuff away from you. Because look what happened to the Israelites. He said, once they get in this land and they get all this good stuff, they're going to leave me. They're going to develop apathy. Like I said, they're going to, and in other words, a lack of interest in God. Because all of us has been there. When we're down and out, man, we owe God, Lord, please, Father, Lord, bless us. Help us make it through, Lord. Please, Father, Lord, help us make it through. And then we get that blessing. All right, Lord, I'll holler at you later on. I might go to church on Easter. You see what I'm saying? That's apathy. And that's what happens when you're too successful. So maybe the reason why you're not well off is because the Lord knows that if you get those riches, you'll never come back to Him. We was talking earlier about the prodigal son. You know what I'm saying? When he was off spending all his money, he wasn't thinking about going home to his father when he had all that money. He didn't think about going back home to his father. What? Until the money was gone. And he was down and out and he had nothing left. Then he went back to his father. So it's the same concept. You know what I'm saying? When a lot of times, because like when I go, I notice when I go out soul winning, one of the things I always do, I like to go to the poor neighborhoods. I like to go to the projects. I like to go to the trailer parks. I like to go to the, you know what I'm saying? If I'm in a city that I'm not familiar with, when I Google low income apartments, I like to go there. And you know what I'm saying? Because soul winning is so much easier there. And a lot of people, the world try to tell you, oh, that's because they're ignorant people, because they're uneducated people, and they're gonna take anything you bring along, because just give them hope, and that's not it. It's easy to soul win in there because they know they remember nights where they didn't have anything and God provided for them. You know what I'm saying? They've been in situations where they know the only reason why they made out this situation is because God provided. Because rich people, they don't have those situations because their money's always taking care of them. And whenever I go to like nice neighborhood, it ain't got to be rich, just nice neighborhood. It can be a nice middle class neighborhood, or just, you know what I'm saying, really nice stuff. It's very hard to soul win in there because most people money, their money, they feel they're secure because of their money. They don't, you know what I'm saying, they don't really have a need for God. Oh, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? I take care, I'm good to people. I take care of everybody. I'm okay. They don't feel like they need God because they got their money. But people that don't have that money, they know they need God because they've seen God provide. You see what I'm saying? So that's why I say just a lack of materials does not mean that God is not being faithful. You know what I'm saying? Maybe he's being even more faithful because he's teaching you, he's keeping you from developing apathy and starting to have a lack of concern for him, and, you know what I'm saying, more of a concern for your money and these worldly things, and therefore leave him. Because that's exactly what the Israelites, and if you go on through the chapters, that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to get in the land, and, you know what I'm saying, have everything, the silver and gold, and they're going to start worshiping other gods and leave God. You know what I'm saying? So again, just because you broke don't mean the Lord ain't being faithful to you. He's probably being even more faithful to you because he's trying to keep you in a position where you have to depend on him so y'all can stay in that close relationship. And that's what he's doing for me. I know that's why I'm broke, because he just want me to keep depending on him, and I'm going to keep depending on him because he has been providing. Like I said, I'm not sitting here, I don't want y'all to think I'm sitting here suffering nothing. I just got a lot of debt I wish I didn't have. I wish I could get rid of. But hey, God provides. I got me a house, got 2 cars, you know what I'm saying, a wife that loved me, never came home to electricity being off, water being off, none of that. My stuff is not flashy, but it's mine, and I thank the Lord for it. So that's number 6. A lack of materials does not mean a lack of God's faithfulness. Abundance can lead to apathy. So maybe he's just keeping you from not being interested in him, because that's what apathy is. So then next line he says, you know, it said they have food, they become well nourished, they will begin to worship other gods, and they will despise me and break my covenant. He said, then great disasters will come down on them, and this song will stand as evidence against them, for it will never be forgotten by their descendants. So number 7, and actually, Pat, we already talked about it because you asked the question earlier when you said, how do we know God took his hands off of us? That's actually point number 7. So I didn't want to get into it, but I mean, it come up again. But a chaotic life does not mean God is not being faithful to you. It could be that you are not being faithful to him. And again, that's the sign that, and since we already discussed, I ain't going to spend much time on it, but that's the sign. When your life starts getting chaotic, again, when you see things, everything that can go wrong goes wrong. No matter what you do, you can't get ahead. You can work your butt off, and you always, getting 3 steps ahead and push 5 steps back. That you really need to slow down and look like, okay, where am I at on my relationship with God? Am I following the path that God, I know God has for me? Am I doing the things I know God want me to do? Am I being in the places God want me to be? Am I being around the places of the people that God want me to be around? That's when you really take a close look at yourself. And even now, like sometimes I just have or situations just going like, man, am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? This is some stuff. It seems like every once I get a spell when stuff starts going crazy. And you know what I'm saying? I started looking at it, and I have slipped on some stuff. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna snitch on myself, but I had a few weeks back. I had about 4 weeks ago. I go out soul winning every Saturday, and usually at least once a month I lead somebody to the Lord. 1 weekend a month. I rarely go a whole 4 weeks without leading somebody to the Lord. And this particular time, it was like 5 weeks. I went a whole month. I think it was the month of June, if I'm not mistaken, where I didn't get to lead one person to the Lord. And I'm like, man, what is going on? And like no matter where I went, it's just like that power went there. And then I started looking over, like, well, what have I been doing these last few weeks? And those were stuff I had kind of slipped back on. I'm not going to, y'all be nosy, I ain't going to sit there and tell you, but I had slipped back on some stuff. And because I had slipped back on the stuff, whether it because it was just my conscience bothering me, or God, I had kind of lost God's grace because I had slipped up. Either way it go, I didn't have, when I went out and knocked on those doors, I didn't feel that power of God on me like I was feeling when I wasn't doing those things. You know what I'm saying? And immediately it's not like, you're doing that stuff you're not supposed to be doing, that you can slip back and tell, like, you know what, I am. And I stopped doing that thing, and guess what? The very next week I went out and won somebody to the Lord, and then for the last 4 weeks in a row, every single time I went somewhere, I led somebody to the Lord 4 weeks in a row, as soon as I got away from that thing. So, see, you can feel it. You can almost feel when that hand of grace is not upon you, things will get chaotic, but more importantly, things will stop going your way. You start realizing, like, man, because for the most part, I ain't gonna lie, y'all, I'm not bragging, but things go my way. The stuff I usually need to happen or been praying to happen, they usually happen. God finds a way to work it out for me. You know what I'm saying? So you know what I'm saying? Things usually go my way. So when things stop going my way, and I'm getting to this situation where, like, man, everything that can go wrong is going wrong, and look, just little stuff be happening. And I really started looking like, man, if I slipped up somewhere, or am I not doing what I'm supposed to be doing, or some stuff I need to be doing I'm not doing, and I pray and I ask the Holy Spirit to show me. And again, like I told you earlier, if you ask God to show you, He will reveal it to you. And once He reveals it to you, you're like, okay, I need to stop doing that. And when you stop doing that, you feel that grace come right back on you. And that's why I got away from that thing. And it wasn't nothing bad, but I was watching some stuff that I shouldn't have been watching, some worldly stuff that I really shouldn't have been watching. I got back into watching, and I should have been watching those things, and because it was just bad influence. And I was like, it'd be all right. But it was really quenching my spirit. And like the whole time I was watching those things, I wasn't seeing nobody saved. And the moment I stopped watching it, that grace came back. And I've been seeing, like I said, for the last 4 weeks in a row, every time I went out, I've seen somebody saved. Just that quick. So again, a chaotic life, it doesn't mean the first thing when things are going wrong and things are going bad. And that's why I said this, because I see that so much. I hear people say that so much, especially when I deal with people in jail or really bad off. Man, you know what I'm saying? God don't love me because this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. Definitely, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, definitely. That'll really quench your spirit there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, I used to be a partaker in it, you know what I'm saying? So I understand the allure of it. But I mean, that is not something that God would want us doing, because even though we're not involved in what they're doing, we're encouraging them to do it. Because you got to think about it. If there wasn't a market for porn, then they wouldn't make porn. People make porn because there's a market for it, and there's a lot of money in it. That's why it's so many people do it. You see what I'm saying? And when even though we're not doing it ourselves, we're not out there fornicating. We're encouraging others to fornicate. You know what I'm saying? So we're still a part of the sin that they're in because we're supporting it. You know what I'm saying? That's a big one that'll quench your spirit and keep you from getting where you need to be. And I honestly, until I stopped watching porn, I didn't realize what of effect it really have on me and really my love life and how I view women. It really does have a deep. It really have more of an effect on us than we think. We think it's just physical, but it really affects you mentally and definitely spiritually. So yeah, that's definitely. If the Lord put that on your heart, you definitely should do it. I know He put it on my heart, and I stopped doing it. You know what I'm saying? I stopped doing it, and really, what really made me stop doing it, Pat, was I started, because y'all heard my testimony, y'all know I got molested as a child. So I started coming to a conviction that, and the more I started telling the story about me being molested, I started realizing how deep that goes. There's way more people molestation that goes on than we really realize, because nobody really likes to talk about it. And I mean, I really didn't like to talk. I didn't talk about it for 25 years. You know what I'm saying? Until I started preaching. So I started realizing, and I started getting burdened. Like, man, I need to be praying for this. And then when I started praying for it, the Spirit just hit me like, well, how you gonna be praying for people that's been molested and been sexually abused when you're watching pornos? Because what you think is going on in there? Now, some of them women, they want to be in there, but a lot of times, you know what I'm saying, they don't. A lot of times they being forced, especially when you look at ones from like the Philippines and foreign lands, Russian lands and stuff like that. Those young girls, you can tell they're being forced to do those things. So how can I be praying for the molestation to stop and the sexual abuse to stop when I'm actually perpetuating it by going on to these sites, even if I'm not paying? Because my thinking was, well, I'm not paying for the site. You know what I'm saying? I never paid for it. But with those sites, if certain amount of people, depending on how many people log on to their site a day, advertisers will pay for them. So even though I'm not paying for the porn, so to speak, directly, I'm still paying for it by just participating and going on that site and giving these sites another hit. You know what I'm saying? So had I not been on there, they might not have had that million hit that's gonna get them that big paycheck. You see what I'm saying? So that's what really made, when I started looking at it like that, like, man, I can't sit here and be praying for people to not be abused when I'm sitting here watching the very thing that's putting them in a situation where they can be abused. And then, of course, some of these women that's in there, they in it because they're being abused by drugs. They got pimps and things of that nature. So you got to look at it as a whole. You know what I'm saying? So when you watching that stuff, you might as well be pimping that girl yourself. You know what I'm saying? I'm just being real with you, and this is how I look at it. You know what I'm saying? When you watch porn, you might as well be there with her, having sex with her, because you're the reason why she's having sex, because somebody's getting paid off her being in that situation. So you might as well just be doing it yourself. When you watch that stuff, you pretty much giving in to it. You're contributing to it. You're the reason why it's existing, because they want to get you to watch it more. So you might as well be doing this stuff directly yourself, because it still goes down the same line. And that's why it inhibits you, like I said, it makes you feel good physically, but it inhibits you spiritually, big time. And it definitely inhibits you spiritually, and it inhibits you mentally, and it inhibits you emotionally with your woman as well. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I would definitely, if the Lord has put it in your heart, you've been struggling with that, I would definitely walk away from that. That was one I had to put up myself. So I can tell you that personally. You know what I'm saying? So again, Caleb, that's a sign that the Lord you've lost that grace. The Lord is kind of, I ain't gonna say abandon you, but He has taken that hand of grace off of you when you start seeing chaos in your life. You know what I'm saying? Everything that go wrong can go wrong. You can't do nothing to get ahead. That's when you know, okay, maybe I need to check myself and get back on the path. Maybe I've strayed away from this path, and the Lord is trying to show me that I've stepped out from under His grace, and I need to do what I need to do to get back to it. So number 7, a chaotic life does not mean God is not being faithful to you. It could be that you're not being faithful to Him. So again, y'all notice I'm just trying to give y'all different aspects, because we always look at this stuff like God is being mean to us, God is abandoning us, and when in reality, it's not that God is being mean to us or He's abandoning us, we've abandoned Him. And He's just letting us suffer the consequences of our actions. So then the next verse He says this, He said, I know what these people are like. Even before they have entered the land I swore to give them. So that's a reference back to number 5. What I say, our faithfulness does not diminish God's faith. Our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So again, He's saying, I already know how these people are. I know what they're going to do when they get in this land. I already know. I'm still send them there anyway. I'm still help them get in there anyway. But I already know what they're going to do, because I know how they are. And the reason why He did that, because He's faithful. And matter of fact, the next line said, He said, so, I'm sorry, I took the glass, put the glass. He said, so that very day Moses wrote down the words of the song and taught it to the Israelites. Then the Lord commissioned Joshua, son of Nun, with these words, be strong and courageous. You must bring the people of Israel into the land I swore to give them, and I will be with you. So number 8 is this. The Lord will keep His word even if you don't keep yours. So that's why He's so faithful. That's why even though He knew they was going to get into that land, even though He knew once they got in the land, they were going to get apathetic and they were going to get full of bread and leave Him, He still let them in. Why? Because He's faithful. He promised Jacob, He promised Abraham, because of his faith, that he was going to get his land to his descendants. He promised Isaac. He promised Jacob. He promised those guys way back when that, hey, one day I'm going to bring your people into this land. You know what I'm saying? As long as they stay faithful to me, I'm going to bring them to this land. You know what I'm saying? He made a promise, and He kept His promise because He's faithful. So even though He know they're not going to be faithful to Him, even though He know that they suffer from a lack of faith, He was still faithful to them, and He still did the thing that He promised to do. Again, He does the same thing with us. Even though He know we're hard-headed, even though He know of our lack of faith, even though He know we're going to sin every day, that's why it says, while we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. He still made a way for us. He still loves us because He's faithful to us. And He's hoping that if He continue His faithfulness to us, then one day we will get it and we will start being faithful to Him. And again, that's what happened. That's exactly what happened to me. The Lord, excuse me, I apologize. The Lord kept being faithful to me through North Memphis. He helped me out of North Memphis. He helped me through college. He helped me get my family established. He was faithful the whole way. And once I finally saw it and I realized it clicked, I started being faithful to Him. And that's why I'm doing these ministries. That's why, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing my business. That's why I'm going knocking on doors every Saturday. You know what I'm saying? That's why I read my Bible every day. That's why I pray every day. Because now I realize how faithful He had been with me to me the whole time. So now I want to return the favor. And I can never, I'm going to let you know right now, I can never measure up to His amount of faithfulness. I can never be as faithful to Him as He has been to me, but I try every day. You know what I'm saying? I try every day. That's why every day, though I say every day, he gives you an opportunity to get it right. Every day that you wake up, man, you got the opportunity to do the right thing. Every day that you wake up, you had the opportunity to take a closer step to the Lord. And that's why he gives you those days. That's why he's so merciful. That's why his mercy endure forever. Because he give me a chance. Man, all right, Pat messed up yesterday. He watched that stuff he wasn't supposed to watch. Maybe he'll do better tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? And then tomorrow come around, you do it again. God dang it, Pat. All right, well, maybe he'll do better Friday. You know what I'm saying? And he just keep getting us time after time after time. And like I said, but eventually he will get to a point like, all right, this man ain't going to get it. And bam, you know what I'm saying? Whatever happens is going to happen. I'm just going to take my hand off of him, and I'm going to let him do what he want to do kind of thing. But even after that, once you make that decision to turn back to him wholeheartedly, he still be right there with open arms once you decide to come back to him. So we see here, again, he knows that they're going to go to this land. He knows they're going to turn their back on him. He knows they're not going to keep the promise of being faithful to him that they made, but yet he still kept his promise, and he stayed faithful to them, and he led them into the land anyway. And that's why he called Joshua, told him, be courageous, I'm going to lead you into the land. Even though I know y'all going to be hard-headed, I know you're going to turn your back on me, I'm still going to lead you into the land so I can stay faithful to my word. And hopefully, eventually, that y'all will see that and y'all will stay faithful to me. And they did. Eventually they did. When David came in and Solomon, the first part of Solomon's reign, they finally got to a point where they were faithful to the Lord. And then after Solomon, it was kind of back and forth. 1 minute they were faithful and 1 minute they wasn't. But during the entire reign of David and the majority of the reign of Solomon, they were faithful. They did get it. And they prospered. And that's why Solomon was so rich, because they prospered because they was faithful to the Lord. But again, they got so rich, Solomon was so rich, that what happened? He ended up getting empathy and apathetic, and he ended up turning his heart away from the Lord and started worshiping these other gods because of all these wives that he had married. You know what I'm saying? You talk about a dude that like women, Pat. This dude had 1,000 wives and 700 concubines. I don't know how he did it. I can't deal with the one I got. She drive me crazy. I can imagine having 1,700 races running around here. I think I'd have killed myself by now. But this man handled it. You know what I'm saying? He handled his business, but it eventually took him away from the Lord. So again, number 8, the Lord will keep his word even if we don't keep ours. You know what I'm saying? He will continue to bless you. He will continue to keep his hand of protection upon you. He will continue to guide you even though you don't keep your word to be faithful to him and do the things that you're supposed to do to him. You know what I'm saying? That's why he still, like I said, every day he wake you. How you know he's still keeping his word? Because he woke you up today. You know what I'm saying? Even though you know you've done some stuff you're not supposed to do, you're still here today. You still have your eyesight. You're still able to walk. You're still able to talk. You're still able to do things. Therefore, he's still staying faithful to you. So then the last paragraph, y'all, we're almost done. In verse 24 it says, so when Moses had finished writing down this entire body of law in a book, he gave these instructions to the Levites who carried the ark of the Lord's covenant. Take this book of the law and place it beside the ark of the covenant of the Lord your God, so it may serve as a witness against the people of Israel. For I know how rebellious and stubborn you are. Now this is Moses. He's like, I even know how rebellious and stubborn you are. He said, even now, while I am still with you, you have rebelled against the Lord. How much more rebellious will you be after my death? So number 9 is this. His word shows his faithfulness, and his word shows his faithfulness and your faithlessness. His word shows that's the Bible show. If you really read through the Bible, and you see how far we've come, how much God has done for us through the ups and the downs, you will see how faithful He is. But you will also see how faithless us as the human race. Now, of course, there are a few black people in here, and that's the Romans come in, so there's some white people here later on. But it's mostly dealing with the Israelites, you know what I'm saying? But just the human race as a whole, you will see how from the beginning of time, even from the very first people, Adam and Eve, from the very first people, from the very beginning, we haven't been faithful. God, what did God tell Adam and Eve? Don't touch the fruit. Don't eat it. You know what I'm saying? Don't eat it. Don't touch it. And what they do, they ate it. So you know what I'm saying? They promised they wouldn't do it, and they did it anyway. So even from the very beginning, the human race have not been faithful. But yet God has been. He could have been like, yo, you know what? No, this ain't gonna work. He could just destroy the human race right then and there, just with the first two. Like, it ain't no point in keeping this going. But no, he made us. He committed to us, and he stayed faithful to us, and he has been all these years. And that's why it's so important. That's why I encourage y'all to get into the Word. That's why I do these Bible studies and just explain it. And I might, you know what I'm saying, somebody else can do this lesson and go complete a different direction. But this is what the Lord has given me. You know what I'm saying? And that's I'm just sharing y'all with y'all what he's giving me. But it shows you, if you really read through this word, time and time again, story after story, all these stories will show you two things. It will show you that God is faithful, and it will show you that us as the human race is unfaithful. You know what I'm saying? That's what you see when you go through these stories. You know what I'm saying? We see, but it also see that even when we're unfaithful, God's faithfulness is always outweighs our unfaithfulness, and He always brings us back to Him in the end. So that's why it's so important that you spend time in His Word. That's why it's so important that you have set time set aside every day to spend His Word, so you can see that. So number 9, His Word shows us His faithfulness and your unfaithfulness. His Word shows us His faithfulness and your faithlessness. We can see that from the Word of God. Like I said, story after story, time after time, God was faithful to us, even when we weren't faithful to Him. And yet, even then, once we made that turn and went back, He was still there with His arm open, even though we abandoned Him. So then, last one, number 10, it says this. Last line, He says, "Now summon all the leaders and the officials of your tribes, so that I can speak to them and call heaven and earth to witness against them. I know that after my death you will become utterly corrupt and return from the path I have commanded you to follow." So again, now this is Moses talking to him, and of course he's been ministering to them for the longest. You know, just like I was talking about y'all with my kids earlier. You know what I'm saying? You know how your kids are. You know what I'm saying? You've been raising. If you actually a father been in the home and raised your kids, you know your kids. You know what their tendencies is, and you know what they're gonna do. And Moses has been taking care of these people for the last 40-some years. So he knows how they are. So he's kind of telling them the same thing as God said. I know you're going to be rebellious. I know you're going to get off the path. So number 10 is this, and this is my last point. The Lord will always lead you down the right path. But again, you have to choose to follow it. You know what I'm saying? The Lord, he's faithful. The Lord would never lead you down the wrong path. But at the same time, He allows you to make the decision on which path you're going to follow. He's going to always lead you down the right one, but you got to decide if you're going to follow the right one or you're going to follow the one you want to follow. And that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of time the path the Lord leads us down is not the path that we want to walk down. You know what I'm saying? I told y'all before, like before I moved here, you know what I'm saying? When I found out I had to move to freaking Waverly, Tennessee, I'm like, what is Waverly, Tennessee? Where is that even at? Like, you know what I'm saying? And then I saw where it was at. I was like, oh my Lord, what are you doing here? I didn't want to move here. You know what I'm saying? I had no clue. I've never been a country boy, never lived in the country, had no clue how this was going to work out. I didn't know how the people's going to be, if we're going to fit in. I didn't know nothing. I was definitely afraid to come in here. But this was the path the Lord put me on. And I knew I needed to follow that path if I was going to be successful. And I came here, and I thank God that I had the wisdom to do so. Even though I didn't want to, I came here, and man, I've been tremendously blessed. I mean, the level that my spirituality has grown since I've been. I never imagined before I came here. I probably had I not come here, I wouldn't be preaching. Y'all wouldn't be hearing me preaching. I wouldn't have this lost sheep ministry. I probably wouldn't be doing none of the things that I'm doing for God that I'm doing these days. I'm doing all this because I came here. I got under a leader that really explained the Bible to me and helped me understand what I was supposed to be doing and put me on the path to start doing these things and encouraged me to do these things. He actually invested in me so I can do these things, and that's why I'm able to do these things. But I followed the path that He put me on. I didn't want to. You know what I'm saying? But I did. And I'll never forget. And y'all might have heard me tell this before. I remember my son, when we got ready to move, it was his junior year. He was halfway through his first semester of his junior year and find out you got to move. You know that's devastating. And then, you know what I'm saying? And not only that, then we had to move. We found out because he was playing ball, and the school that he was playing for, one of the top schools in the state of Tennessee for football. And that's where he was at. And we found out we moved to a town that's actually at the bottom of the borough. You know what I'm saying? The year before we got here, they was 1-9. You know what I'm saying? Hadn't been in the playoffs since 2008. We got here in 2014. They hadn't been to the playoffs in 2008. Hadn't won a game since 1988. You know, so he come to me like, man, Dad, what are you doing to me? And I was like, look here, son, I don't want to go there no more than you do. I like, but this is what God is leading us to, and if we want to be successful, we got to follow the path that God put us on. I said, so we're going to pray, and we're going to go to this place, and we're going to see what God does for us. And guess what happened? We moved here. Then not like a month after we moved here, they ended up firing the coach they had, got a new coach, and my son got to be on the first team. They won the first playoff game in 30 years. You know what I'm saying? They went from a 1-9 season to a 9-2 season in one season. You know what I'm saying? In one season, they went from 1-9 to 9-2. And for the next 6 years after that, I've had a son on that team every single year, and every single year they were number one in their region since we've been here. See, that's God. We followed that. Now, I'm not saying he did that specifically for us, but he put us in a position to be successful. And he showed us where we need to go, and we went, and that's why we were able to be a part of success. See, we couldn't, if we on the outside looking in, we couldn't see it being successful. We couldn't see us being successful here. But God already knew what he had planned up, and that's why he put us on that path. But we had to make the choice to come here. And I honestly believe, had I chosen to go anywhere else, I wouldn't be as prosperous as I am today. I wouldn't be as established as I am today. I definitely don't think I would have this ministry. But because I chose to go down the path that the Lord put me on, that I knew he was leading me down, I was able to have the success that I have. And every day we make those, again, that's another one of those daily decisions. Every day you wake up, you make a decision whether you're going to go down the right path and go where God wants you to go and do what God wants you to do, or whether you're going to go down the wrong path and do what you want to do. But God will be faithful. He will lead you down the right path, but you got to decide whether you want to walk that path. That's your free will. And so then the last line, and to finish up, and of course it's a reference back to one a previous statement. So he said in the last line, he said, in the days to come, he said, I know that after my death you will become utterly corrupt and will turn from the path I have commanded you to follow. And in the days to come, disaster will come down on you, for you will make the Lord very angry by doing what is evil in his sight. So number 7, again, a chaotic life does not mean that God is not being faithful to you. It could mean that you're not being faithful to him. And that's what he's saying. Y'all are going to turn your path. God's going to give you a path to walk down, and you're going to turn your back. And when you turn your back, that's when disaster's going to start to happen. You see what I'm saying? So don't always take it. If disaster, you see your life is chaotic and things not going right, that's not God picking on you. You know what I'm saying? If whatever's going wrong, if nothing can go right and everything that can go wrong is going wrong, that's not God picking on you. That's you not picking God. You not choosing to walk the path that God has put you down, and you choosing to walk your own path, and that's why you're having those issues. You know what I'm saying? So number 7, like I said, is a reference back to number 7. And chaotic life does not mean God is not being faithful to you. It could be that you're not being faithful to God. So if you want to know if the Lord is taking his hand off of you, and you want to know if he's still with you or not, look at your life. Is it chaotic? You know what I'm saying? Are you always having problems? Is everything going wrong? Are you always getting caught up in some mess? Always getting caught in the middle of some drama? Always got some mess going on? Then maybe you're not being faithful enough to God, and you've lost that grace that comes with being faithful to the Lord. And it's not that he's picking on you. It's just that you're not picking him. And that's what it boils down to. So I thank y'all, man. I went a few minutes over, but it got really good. And plus, it wasn't all me tonight. Y'all was actually asking questions and stuff, which I enjoyed that. Going back and forth. And I hope that I was able to help you guys. And Pat, I know you came in a little late, so you missed the first half, but hopefully you'll get to go back and watch the rest of that part. But I hope this helped you. More than anything, y'all, like I said, I just want this stuff to help y'all. I want this to help you. I want it to edify you. I want you to see things from different perspectives, because that's what wisdom is. Wisdom is when you look at things from being smart is, I'm smart, I can read this, I can and do this science and all that. But having wisdom is when you look at things from God's perspective. That's exactly what wisdom is, and that's all I try to do when I look at life. I know we have these problems in life. I know we have these ups and downs. I know we have these things that we go through. But so many times we look at it from a worldly perspective and we get angry about them, when really we should look at it from a God's perspective and be happy about them and realize I'm going through these things not because God is picking on me or because God is don't love me. It's because he's trying to bring me to him. You know what I'm saying? That's what I had to realize in my life. I didn't go through all those things that I went through because God was picking on me and I was cursed. I went through all those things that I went through because God was trying to pull me back to him. He was trying to show me that, hey, you need me. You're doing everything on your own. You need me. And that's what I hope to do with these lessons. That's what I hope for y'all to see. Because you see, God knew they were going to be hard-headed. He knew they was going to do things they weren't supposed to be doing when they got in that land. But yet he let them go into the land anyway. Why? Because he was faithful. He made a promise to Abraham and Jacob and Isaac that he was going to do it. And he did it. And he did it with the hopes of maybe they'll get it right. You know what I'm saying? Maybe if I just keep on blessing them and I keep on helping them make it through, maybe eventually they'll get the wisdom to see that they're able to do all these things because of me, and they get their hearts to me. And that's what happened. Like I said, God gave me time and time and again, and look at the result. You know what I'm saying? Once I finally got it, look at the work I've been able to do. Look at the people I've been able to help. And again, not just bragging on myself, it's just true. I've been able to be a positive influence in the life of a lot of people because I finally got it. I finally understand it, finally clicked, and I finally got it, and I finally realized that I need to be as faithful to him as he was to me. But even if I wasn't, he was still faithful to me because our faithlessness does not diminish God's faithfulness. So that's it for tonight, y'all. I thank y'all. And of course, y'all know my normal ending announcements. Next Monday, I'm not gonna have Lost Sheep next week because I'm gonna be heading down to Texas. So we're gonna do another lesson. I don't know where I'm going after here. So if you got anything that you want me to talk about, anything I haven't covered already, please reach out to me and let me know, and I'll work that into my next lesson plan. Because right now, I don't know where I'm gonna go for next Monday, but whatever the Lord sends to me over these next 7 days, I will present it to you guys next week. Continue to share the videos, tag people in them, tell them about them. If you think they can be helped by them, definitely let them know, so this ministry can grow. But more importantly, I'm more worried about not this ministry growing, but the kingdom of God growing, because people are building their relationship with the Lord and going out there and telling others. So continue to do your part, man, and help me grow this ministry so we can grow the kingdom of God, and we can help people get edified and they can have a close relationship with the Lord. And of course, if you're watching this, and this wasn't a salvation message, but you're watching this and you're not 100% sure about your salvation, please reach out to me and let me know, so I can set up some time to talk with you and we can discuss the gospel, because that's the most important decision you ever make in your life. And of course, if you need any kind of spiritual counseling, anything about the Bible you understand, or need to just talk, or try to need some guidance about the direction you need to go, please reach out to me. I can't promise you that I know everything, but God has blessed me with a lot of wisdom, because I've been through a lot, and I've seen a lot, and I've done a lot, and I can just use the experience that I've had to try to help you get to where you need to be for the Lord as well. And as always, you want to go check out some of my old sermons. I'm eventually going to get me a new laptop and start back loading everything on YouTube, but I do still got, as of right now, about my first 20 or 30 sermons are on YouTube. So you want to go to my YouTube channel, this is it. You search God's Servant / Lost Sheep Ministries, a space between each one. It will take you to my channel. You will see my ugly face, and you can find my old sermons. So once again, thank y'all. I apologize for keeping y'all over a little bit tonight, but I really did enjoy that discussion, and I hope that you guys will help by this. And I pray that now that you will see things from a different perspective. You will see it ain't always God is picking on you or not being faithful to you. Sometimes it's you not being faithful to Him, and which will cause the problems that arise in our lives. So we love you. I love you all. I'm gonna say this prayer, then I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this lesson tonight, Lord. Thank you so much for letting your spirit work through me. I really enjoyed the discussion. It was a little different from what we normally do. I really did enjoy the discussion and the questions, and I pray that I was able to answer those questions with the wisdom that you gave me, the discernment you gave me, was able to answer those questions in a manner that would help the people get the answers they were searching for, but more importantly, bring conviction on their heart, so they may have the want to be faithful to you and start serving your purpose and your will with their lives, Lord. We just ask you just to watch over us as we finish up this night. Keep us all safe. Be with all your servants. Keep them safe as they go about the night. Be with me and my family. Keep us safe and protected. Help us get in a good night's rest and get up tomorrow ready to serve your purpose and your will once again. I pray you continue to watch over this ministry so it continue to grow, prosper, reach out to the community, change the lives of others, and capture the lost souls of men. And just use me and my family and this church, Lord, River Lake Baptist Church. Use us in a way that we can continue to build your kingdom and bring this world back to you. Watch over all of my family and friends. Watch over all of my members, all those that tune in, the faithful ones, Lord. Just keep your hand upon them and just continue to give me the ability to have the influence in their lives, to get them to want you, to get their whole hearts to you so they can have that close walk with you as well. Watch over our country, Lord, and all that we're going through. Be with our kids. That school has started back. I know we've got a lot going on, Lord, and I just pray that they have a good, safe, healthy school year. Just keep them protected. Let the administrators teach the proper things and keep our kids safe and continue to bring them home, especially the ones that ride the buses, get the bus mechanical sounders and get those drivers wisdom as they have those precious lives in their hands. And just watch over us as we prepare for the school year. Watch over this country. Help us get back to honor and glorifying your name and serving your purpose, your will with our lives, and realize the importance of just getting back to you, being as faithful to you as you have been to us, Lord. Just help us continue to do so. And I just ask you just watch over this word that was brought here tonight. I pray that it go forth, touch the hearts of those that need to touch, and do the work that it was meant for it to do, because I know your word never returns void. Watch over those in the military, keep them safe. Watch over my family and friends. Watch over those that have been misused and abused, Lord. And I pray you just continue to put your healing hands upon them as they go through this trauma. But I pray you make a way for them to get out of this situation, give them the wisdom to accept their way, and take the evil out of the hearts of the men and women that commit this terrible deed, so they can see the harm that they do to their brothers and sisters. Watch over us all, Lord. Keep us all safe. But more importantly, I pray for that day when the world as a whole, we will humble ourselves, pray, seek your face, and turn from our wicked ways, so you may hear from heaven, forgive our sins, and heal our lands. And I pray you send more workers for the harvest, because the harvest is plenty, but the workers are few. Watch over us as we finish this night, keep us safe, and give us another day to honor and glorify your holy name once again. From the top of my head to the bottom of my feet, I'm yours to do that you will, and I thank you for all you've done and given. And I say this prayer in your wonderful Son, Jesus' name, amen. So I love y'all. Like I said, once again, God willing, next Monday I will be back with another lesson. Not sure which way it's going to go yet. I don't know if it's anymore. I think I'm just about done with Deuteronomy. So I might move on to Joshua. But like I said, whatever the Lord revealed to me, that's where I would go. And I just thank you guys for joining us. And I hope this lesson helped you tonight. And I pray y'all continue to tune in. But until next time, continue to always watch. Remember, always watch your back and pray. I love you guys. Peace.